Hello, and good afternoon. My name is Jason Altenberg, and today I'm going to be detailing on how to cook beef stew. Why beef stew, you might already ask? Well, it's a very universal dish that can be found in most homes, and it is very easy to make, plus it is very delicious if cooked correctly. Now, right off the bat, you might be asking yourself, why am I teaching you how to cook? Well, what I found was the vast majority, if not all of the people I know, are uneducated and just don't know how to cook a nice meal. So I like to take this opportunity to share with you how to cook a nice and easy meal. So before I go right into it, I'd like to detail two ingredients that you might not be familiar with. One of which is adobo, and the other of which is sofritos. Adobo is an all-purpose seasoning that can be found in most grocery stores such as Walmart or Publix, and it is going to be the seasoning that we'll be using today in order to get that beef stew at the perfect flavor. As for sofritos, that's a blend of vegetables thrown into a blender, of course, and from there, I like to add its own personal touch of putting it in an ice cube tray and freezing it for later. This way, we get blocks of frozen vegetable mixtures that we can just toss right into our stew, give it that little extra flavor. I've also left links in this post that I have submitted that details how to make sofritos and also just what is adobo. I've also left links to how to cook the stew. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Immediately, we have right here as our prerequisite item, it's going to be our beef stew meat. You're going to go down to any old grocery store, look in the frozens or the meat department, wherever you might find meats, and you're going to look for a label that says beef stew meat, something along those lines. It'll come in little blocks like this, little chunks of meat. That's when you know you have the right item. As for what we're going to use for our broth, today I've picked out a couple of options. Right here is the preferred method with a nice bottle of beer, maybe some wine, white wine. However, if we don't have an alcoholic beverage available, we can use this beef broth or any broth that might suit you, like chicken broth, vegetable stock. Most anything will work here. Now, right here is our troublemaker, the legendary ingredient known as sofritos. This is our blend of vegetables that we're going to be throwing in the pan to give this meat right here that little extra flavor. And of course, olive oil, a nice staple, keeps your food from sticking to the pan. We're going to bring that right over here to our pan and its lid. Before I get to that, make sure that we have our stew meat here. We're going to take this raw meat and we're going to throw it in a nice little container like this guy here. Throw in the seasonings, adobo, get it nice and flavored up right in this bowl right here. Assuming we got that up and done, let's set it aside for later, and let's move over to cooking. We're going to cover the base of this pan here, pot, and we're going to just coat the very bottom of it just enough to cover that. We're going to be cooking it on about medium-high heat, so for this stove it's about 5, maybe 4. Once we got it medium-high heat and we're cooking this olive oil, we're going to make sure that we wait until we see shimmering or we know that that pot is just hot enough. Once we know the temperature is good to go, we're going to take this sofritos block right here, take it, throw it right into our pan, and make sure it starts melting, sizzling. Make sure it just melts just enough. We don't want to melt the whole block to get rid of all the flavor. Once the block is starting to melt, we're going to take our seasoned beef, which should be in this bowl, and we're going to throw it right into this pan. Once we take that seasoned meat, throw it into this pan, we're going to mix it around and we're going to start to brown it just a little bit. Now, while we're browning it, we want to make sure it's covered in the sofritos and it's looking nice and pretty. Once we got the sofrito melted and the stew is looking good, we're going to take our broth mixture, whichever you might have chosen, and we're going to pour it right in, just enough to cover the meat. Now, you want to make sure that broth is covering the meat. You know, it's going to seem like there's a lot in there, but it'll be the right amount. Just make sure that whole meat is covered. Next up, what I have to do here, just set a lid right on there, and you're going to cook it for about 22.5 minutes. Now, after this 22.5 minutes is up, that's when you're going to take off this lid, stir it around, and from there, you're going to add some potatoes, carrots, whatever suits your boat right here. Take that, toss it in the stew, start cooking it right up, and it's going to be very, very delicious, I'll tell you that much. After we add our carrots, potatoes, whatever, we're then going to cook that again for about 22.5 minutes. As soon as this 22.5 minutes is up, you got your carrots, stew cooking, everything's looking pretty. Stir it around, turn off that stove, and set it aside because your stew is done and you're ready to enjoy it. Grab yourself a spoon, a nice bowl, and enjoy this stew. So overall, that concludes today's lesson of Hell's Kitchen. I mean my kitchen in general. Now, I hope you all are enjoying a nice bowl of stew right about now. Everything went swimmingly. Just a little side notes, make sure you're stirring that every now and then. Want to make sure it's always looking good. That pretty much concludes my video right here. I've left links in the posts in case you're lost. And as always, you can reach me right there on Canvas, anywhere you might find me. Hit me an email if you're lost on how to cook this stew, and I'll help you right out. I hope this has been as much fun as it's been for me, and I hope that your stew came out just as good as it did for me. Enjoy, and take care. Till I see you next time.